Welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. The Halifax International Security Forum was founded in 2011, addressing global security issues. Its annual forum takes place in Halifax, and we're pleased to have its president, Peter Van Praagh, as our special guest today. Welcome to Boom and Bust.
Tony, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much.
And I know our audience is as well. I guess the place to start is just to tell us about the most recent Halifax International Security Forum last November. What did it accomplish? What were some of the major themes?
Sure. Well, thank you, Tony. I'm delighted to be here. Halifax International Security Forum has been going on. It was actually our 15th annual meeting. And what makes it special, aside from being in Canada and being in Halifax, is that it is a forum for the democracies only. And it has really gained a reputation, and it's on the scale now as some of the major forums. But the rest of them, they invite the Chinese, they invite the Iranians. Up until the invasion of Ukraine, they invited the Russians. And Halifax, since the very beginning, has really just been for the good guys. It started under the Stephen Harper government. It's now gone through the defense ministers of the Trudeau government. And this year's forum, what we tried to do is maintain focus on the challenges coming from Russia and the invasion of Ukraine. Now, a month before Halifax, Hamas terrorists invaded Israel and killed over 1,000 Israelis. And that forced us to change the focus a little bit. And it was important that we did that. But because the focus has always been on essentially the good guys and the challenges faced by autocrats, it didn't have to change too much. So since the beginning, we've been talking about the Russians, we've been talking about the Iranians, and we've been talking increasingly about the Chinese. And we put these together now with the North Koreans, whose missile technology has to worry all of us, and we call them the CRINKs, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. And that really is the challenge that Canadians and frankly all democracies face at this time.
That's a great segue into a number of different topics. Really interesting that you could focus on all those things. But let's first talk about Ukraine, because as you said, that was what you putatively wanted to focus in on before events took you in some other directions as well. Tell us, what was the consensus at the meeting about how the war is going right now, assuming that we're for the good guys, which means for Ukraine. How is it going in terms of the analysis from the people who were at the forum?
So the forum took place in November, and it was really at the end of what had been sort of the campaign to launch a counteroffensive. And I think the mood in November was the beginning of what we've seen since then, and that is a little bit of disappointment in some quarters, more than a little disappointment that more wasn't achieved in 2023. However, I think that is attributed to a couple of things. One, it's attributed to the fact that the Ukrainians were incredibly successful in 2022. And what that did is that raised all of our expectations in Canada and the United States and beyond, that in fact Ukraine could defeat Russia relatively quickly. And all of our expectations were then heightened, and I would say artificially heightened.
Right.
And so we sat together at the end of 2023, scratching our heads a little bit of disappointment, but then coming to the understanding that Ukraine has essentially destroyed the Russian military. The numbers of Russian dead and wounded are incredible. And so really, it was true in 2022, it was true 2023, and it's true now that Ukraine is fighting for all of us. And really what we saw at Halifax was a steadfastness that there had to be continued support. Now that support needs to turn into equipment, ammunition, and money. And we're seeing some obstacles to that in the United States Congress. We're seeing things. I hope it's not a division in the Canadian Conservative Party with a vote tied to to the environment and carbon tax. But I just say to your viewers and to everybody in Canada that Ukraine's fight is our fight.
Right. Peter, we're going to take a brief break for our commercials. We'll be back to discuss further these topics with you. Please stay with us.